today is March 7th, 2002. My name is Barton Greenberg, Bucky Greenberg. Let's see, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and my family, starting with my parents. My mother's family lived at the time of her birth in Valley City, North Dakota. My grandfather emanated from Russia. He left Russia, went to Scotland, where he was educated, then came to America, I believe through Montreal, I'm not sure. And at the time of my mother's birth, they were, as I said, resident in Valley City, North Dakota. He was a traveling merchant. He sold shirts and suits and clothing, and as I recall, he traveled throughout Dakota, Montana, Idaho by train. He had these great big trunks, and he was a very mild, mannered individual, and I think some of my, to a certain extent, I take after him in certain respects. But at any rate, my mother was born there, as was her sister, Gwen, who married an attorney in Winnipeg by the name of Morosnik. When my mother was fairly young, they moved to St. Paul, Minnesota, and it was there that she grew up. From that point, I'll shift over to my father, who was born in 1892. He was born here in Omaha at about 12th and Douglas. And I don't know when his family came to the United States. Obviously, it was some short period of time prior to that. He was the oldest of 4 boys and 3 girls. And I don't think his father was a great businessman, because I don't think the family had a great deal of money. Unfortunately, his father passed away in 1912. At that time, Dad was about 18 years old. And being the oldest, he had to assume a lot of responsibility, which I suppose was his nature, but at any rate, it affected the rest of his life, because he was the person who, in the family, who did the utmost to try to keep things together. And I guess they lived in various places. I do remember that one of the residences that they had was at 2710 Birch Street, which is about 3 blocks or so from the Creighton University campus. And the reason that stands out in my mind is that years ago, going through some of the old papers, I saw a paper where he had arranged the sale of their home at 2710 Birch Street to Mrs. Rose Blumkin, which I found kind of interesting. At any rate, through his younger years, he worked and provided funds for the family. I do recall that he sold paper, or he was telling me, or I understand that he sold papers on the street, did various things, and I guess about 1915 or so, or 16, I'm not sure exactly when, he worked for John Alperson, who had a cigar store. And sometime after that, not too long after that, he entered World War I. And for some reason, I'm not sure what, he became a member of the Masonic Order before he entered service. And he was stationed at Camp Funston in Kansas, and while going through one of the medical exams there, the officer that he was before was also a Mason, and he said to Dad, Joe, there's going to be a lot of Masons killed in this war. You have a problem with your toe. It's called a hammer toe, and so why don't you get out of service? And as a result, he did get out of service, and he went to work for Harry Wolff, who was the owner of the H.A. Wolff Company, which is a prominent real estate and insurance agency. And he worked there for the rest of his life until his death in 1950. And one of the great lessons that I learned from him was that he was one of 4 people who were the prime employees there in real estate and insurance and building management and so forth. And Harry Wolff promised them that at his passing, they would own the business. Well, unfortunately, at his passing, they couldn't find the will. And that was a strong signal to me that I should not work for anybody who made such promises that were not in writing. So I passed that on for whatever it's worth. But he did enjoy the work in insurance. He was regarded as one of the top insurance people in Omaha. He had an excellent reputation. And as a matter of fact, in that connection, I'd like to read it's called a farewell editorial written by Leonard Boasberg, whose folks were very close to Dad and Mom, and I was close to Leonard myself. And you'll have to pardon me, I become emotional sometimes. Anyway, this is Uncle Joe, a smile from the heart. Joe Greenberg knew only friends. He walked through this life a firm, optimist, passionate man of action and deep conviction, and with the weight of every man's sorrows on his shoulders. And in that immense heart of his, he had a smile for everyone, a smile from the heart, a smile that meant something. Love, compassion, goodness. You couldn't talk to Joe Greenberg without feeling better afterwards. He was Uncle Joe to hundreds of young men and women who will carry his memory all the days of their lives. Joe Greenberg wasn't popular. He was loved because he freely gave of his own inexhaustible supply of love. His warm, affectionate laugh, his strength, his boundless spirit lives and will live with all of us always. That was how many people thought of him. So his legacy to me at his passing was not so much material, but rather this, that if in my subsequent life I had to reach a decision, perhaps dealing with ethics or something like that, all I had to do was recall what he would have done in that circumstance. So that would have been one of the guiding factors of my life. Now, let's get away from the emotion. Let's talk about, I guess, my schooling. I got some notes here. Oh yeah, the homes we lived in. Well, Dad liked to move. When I was born, the family lived at about half a block south of Dodge Street on 50th Avenue. And it's strange, that was 1924. I was born July 1st, 1924. Anyway, they lived in that home, and I don't think very long, but they discovered that that years ago, I guess when Omaha was just wide open country, there was a creek that ran under the street there at 50th and Dodge, and I guess every time it rained, their basement filled with water. So that was a recollection that I heard them talk about. And as a matter of fact, in the present home we're in, just after we bought it, there was a horrendous storm, and all of a sudden there was water in the basement of our home. And I was really upset about that. Fortunately, we were able to get the home treated so that didn't recur. At any rate, from that point, we moved to 4724 Davenport Street, where I grew up with Lee Jane. Went to Dundee Grade School to start with, but I guess Dad didn't want to stay too long in any one place, and so in I guess 1932 or thereabouts, or 31, we moved to 757 North 58th Street, and we lived there for a couple of years. I went to Harrison Grade School. Then they decided to move, and we went over to 103 South 52nd Street, right at 52nd and Dodge. We were there for not too long a period of time, and in 1946 or 47, Dad built a home at 717 North 57th Avenue. Great place. That's where I spent a lot of pleasant time. In the summer when this home was being built, we had to leave 52nd Street. I guess our lease was up, and so the family moved out to Carter Lake for the summer, and that was a wonderful experience at the Carter Lake Club. There was a dance hall and a bowling alley. I guess I got started there setting pins in the bowling alley, and did a little swimming and boating, and we just had a grand time. At any rate, then when the home was finished, we moved to 57th Avenue, and I think that was, I don't know, I suppose 1937, 38, and I lived there until I went away to school, went away to college. So that covers that part of it. At Central High, I was a member of a fraternity there, Pi Tau Pi, I think it was. I spent some time at the J. I there began to swim, and was on the rifle team at high school. I guess I was on the honorary societies. Nothing special there, but I graduated in the spring of '42, and the war had started, and I was unsure of what to do. So I decided to go to Iowa State University to attend a course on engineering and business. I did not know what I wanted to do after graduating. So I was only there for about 6 months, and was on the freshman swimming team there, and got good grades the first semester, and then I knew that I would be going into the service at the second semester, so things sort of went down from that point. But I enlisted in the Air Force meteorology program, and entered the Army Air Force in, I guess, February '42, and went up to Kearns, Utah for basic training, which was just really a hellhole. But at any rate, after that, I was sent back to the University of Iowa, where I spent a very interesting and pleasant year in the Air Force as part of a meteorology program, and swam there. And I didn't realize at the time, but we had really an elite group. We had a reunion, a 50-year reunion a few years back, and it then I began to realize that we had such a great group, and we also had such a great opportunity because there weren't many students on campus, many male students on campus, and the university was interested in retaining a good record. So we had the advantage of great professors, and a lot of the graduates of the school really, about that unit, really went on to accomplish great things. And then I suppose I might as well continue on in the service. The Air Force found they had too many people in training for meteorology, so the program ended, and I ended up as a weather observer in western Kansas, Pratt, Kansas. I was there for a year, and then I guess a little before the Battle of the Bulge, I was ordered to report for overseas training. We were to staff the invasion in Japan, and fortunately the war ended before I went overseas, and I had the opportunity and ended my Air Force experience at Offutt Field. To go back to my father's getting out of service, because he was a Mason and because the examining physician was a Mason, he had me, or he suggested, and of course I followed what his suggestions were, to also enter the Masonic Order, which I did as soon as I could, which was age 21. And so I've been a Mason, although a highly inactive Mason, for over 50 years. So I guess that's the military. I didn't say this about my folks. I guess Dad grew up in the Orthodox synagogues in Omaha. My mother from St. Paul was more inclined toward Reform. And at that time in Omaha, they were married in 1917. At any rate, they both began to feel that the Orthodox was not the place for them, and so they were among the founders of the conservative synagogue in Omaha, in Bethel. Dad was, I think, the third president, and he was president during the strong effort to build this fledgling congregation, which met at the Jewish Community Center, and then subsequently had high holiday services at what was then the Knights of Columbus building. They needed a home. Rabbi David Goldstein was most insistent that the congregation make the effort. build a home, to build a synagogue. And Dad was president for 3 years, during which time most of the fundraising took place. I guess I was, I was bar mitzvahed at the what was then the synagogue home at the Jewish Community Center in 1937. I guess I was one of the last bar mitzvahs to take place at the center before our synagogue was finished at 49th and Farnham. I was, I think, the second or third bar mitzvah of Cantor Edgar, who came from Des Moines to Omaha, and it was great working with him. We lived at 57th Avenue. He lived around 34th and Farnham, so I used to ride my bicycle down to his home to study for the bar mitzvah. And of course, I have been a lifelong member of Bethel and was president many years ago and was on the board. And I did not partake in a great deal of activities, outside activities. I was also interested in the Insurance Association and Bethel, and that was really the extent of my activities. I've been a member of Kiwanis for, I guess now about 25 or 30 years, but have not played a very prominent part in our club. So, I guess it's now time to talk a little about, talk about swimming, which I guess my first, let's see, when I was, I don't know, 10 or 11, I was an assistant counselor. Oh, let's skip the age. I was assistant counselor at one of the first JCC camps. This was held at Louisville, Nebraska. And I did, I think, yeah, I was 12, and I think I got my Junior Red Cross life-saving certificate there. But let's see, I guess I'll skip to later years. Oh, I went to camp in Minnesota. Strongheart, no, I forget the name of the camp. Arrowhead was the name of the camp. And swam there against some older fellows and did reasonably well. And I thought, well, maybe I should continue the swimming, which I did. I swam at the JCC. Lee Grossman was the director then, and there's an interesting picture out at the J of the coach that I had at that time, Dan Greenfield. And I remember the first meet I had was at Creighton University. I guess I was 11 or 12. And then I swam, there used to be a meet every year at what was then Peony Park, now now an Albertson grocery store. And I did pretty well in those meets, and there was no swimming team at Central High when I went there. But I did go to, as I said, Iowa State University and swam on the freshman team there. Was stationed at Iowa City for a year, and we developed a little team there. And then I swam at the University of Nebraska when I came back from service. And I would mention that our family has a pretty bad heart history. My father and a couple of uncles and a couple of aunts had heart problems that caused their death. My sister Lee Jane had a couple of heart attacks and a couple of bypass surgeries. and eventually succumbed to congestive heart failure. And with that background, I knew that I should attempt to swim and to help maintain health, which fortunately it has. It's been very, very beneficial to me. And also, part of the swimming, for the past 10 or 11 years, I've had the opportunity to work with coaches from the University of Nebraska swimming team who've been very helpful, but also we've developed a very close relationship, almost like brothers, or since they're so much younger than I, like father and son. And we correspond and really enjoy one another's company. And matter of fact, one of the gentlemen that I first got coaching from in Aspen, Colorado, last summer we maintained a close relationship. Last summer we stayed in his condo, and he was one of 4 of the coaches of the United States Olympic snowboarding and alpine skiing this year in the Olympics. But at any rate, I hope to continue swimming, first because I know it's good for me, and secondly because I just enjoy competition and have met some very fine people around the world in the swimming. I'm very fortunate in convincing Carol Berkowitz to be my wife in 1951. We've been married now 50 good years. She was very helpful to me as secretary when I first started my business, and we had the opportunity to enjoy our 2 children, Beth, who's an architect in New York, and Joe, who is a CPA in California. And I've enjoyed our 2 grandchildren, Joe's children, and watched them grow and enjoy it, and we hope to become a part of their lives, not just a name. We meet or try to get together 2, 3, or 4 times a year, and it's been good to watch them grow, and I think we have a very nice relationship.
Bucky, I'd like to have you tell me some of the awards you've won in swimming.
Oh. Well, there is every year they set up a list of all Americans who have scored the best time for one event, whether it's a 50-meter, 100-meter, backstroke, breaststroke, or whatever. And of course, I only swim breaststroke in competition. That's the only thing I can do. And I guess for 12 or 13 years now, I've been on that list. I've had the best time in America in one event or another. And over the years, I've competed in, at Arizona State and UC, University of Southern Cal, Michigan, Minnesota. I swam a meet in Rochester, New York, several meets at the University of Indianapolis, University of Indiana in Indianapolis, and I swam a world meet there and a Pan-Pacific meet there, and a world meet in Montreal, and a world meet in Munich in years 2002. And I've done pretty well. I won most of them in Munich. I got 2/3 in the second, and was happy to be there and met some very nice people there. I have a wall that's got quite a number of medals in it, and it's just been pleasant and good. How are we doing? You want to prompt me more? Is there anything?
I'd like to hear a little more about your insurance business.
Oh, okay.
Just what you did in the insurance business.
Okay. Well, I can summarize it by saying I've had sort of a mediocre life in insurance. I have not accomplished as much as others. I've always made a comfortable living. I have, I think through the years, built a good reputation. I think most everybody speaks well of me. I have tried to serve my clients to the best of my ability. I've tried to, I guess I enjoy challenges, and I've attempted to introduce certain new ideas, at least for my activities in insurance, and they have been good but not overly successful, but it's something I enjoy doing, and as a matter of fact, I'm a week from today, a week from today, I'm going to start a seminar on long-term care insurance, which is another new area. Right after I entered the insurance business in '48, I began studying for and accomplished degrees in most areas that I could. I was a chartered life underwriter, and I went through, got the CLU degree and a CPCU degree in property insurance, and went through a investment study and received Master of Science in Financial Services, and as a matter of fact was studying most of the time from the time we were married until 1982, and I decided that was about enough of the study. But I've got a good background in insurance, and try and don't have any real thought of retiring because I have the feeling that I could provide benefit to some of my clients with the knowledge I've accumulated all these years. And let's see, is there anything else?
I'd like to hear a little your side of the story of how you met your wife.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Well, I knew and thought well of her and her family for a long time. As a matter of fact, before I finally decided to ask her to marry me, I used to suggest that other of my friends date her because I thought she was a very nice girl. I don't recall when I first met her. I just knew of her being in Omaha, and I guess decided that she would be the girl that I'd want to walk through life with. And we were married in 1951. And it's been good marriage. She's been very helpful to me.
What are your greatest memories of that particular day in 1951?
I don't remember very much of it. I do, from pictures, recall my father walking, I guess as we left the marriage, I recall him walking out with a very pleasant and happy look on his face. I do remember our wedding dinner. Remember all our friends and relatives eating with us, and my uncle from Canada talking too long, and being very happy that she agreed to marry me. And as a result of the marriage, we have two fine children who are good citizens and good people. and fortunately they've married good people, and they've done well, and I'm sure are and will continue to be good citizens, and that's important. And I wish them all good things.
Can you share some memories with me of your children growing up?
Yeah, one thing that stands out is Beth, who was a great daughter, is a great daughter, but things happened when she was 12. All of a sudden she grew independent. And it happened at a certain event. I guess we were going in the car and I told her to do something. She acquainted me with the fact that she wasn't going to do it. And he was independent. And I think that we've grown really close these past few years. And I think she's done excellent work. And I think in Joe's case, I think that his experiences have been a great help to him, and I think he's on a good track now, having had knowledge of a lot of businesses and dealing with a lot of different kind of people. And I think that he will do well. And I'm pleased with the way his understanding wife is helping him, and he helping her. I think they have a very, very good marriage. So all in all, I'm very, very happy with our children, with our wife, and with our life. And hopefully for many years.
Now, those two grandchildren of yours must be pretty special to you, aren't
Oh,
they?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tell me about them.
Well, it's just a real pleasure to be with them and see them grow and see what their activities are. I look for, when we're together, the opportunity of just hanging out with them, because I think it's important that they get to know us doing things they like to do. More important than going places. And hope for and enjoy the time we've spent together thus far, and hope that we'll be able to continue to grow together. As a matter of fact, Lauren is now 7 years old, and she'll be bat mitzvahed in another 6 years. And at that time I will be 83, and perhaps we can have a joint bar and bat mitzvah together. And just hope they enjoy good health and growth and happy and long lives. I don't know what else. Let's see.
We talked a little earlier, Bucky, about the business that you and Carol share. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah, she, Dad passed away in 1951, and he was the head of the insurance department at H.A. Wolf Company, and I remained there for a couple of years, and then in, I believe it was 53, left H.A. Wolf Company to found my own agency. And she offered to help as my secretary and my helper as I opened the business. And I do remember when I made my first insurance survey of a customer, who was Joe Gottsteiner at a grocery store in Council Bluffs. And we sat down together and worked out what was my first important summary, business summary. And the business grew from that point, and he was very helpful to me and remained as my secretary until about the time for Beth's birth. And she retired at that time from active participation in my agency, but continued to do all the accounting work. And so every month she would either continue to be helpful in that regard. And fortunately, we've had an understanding so we could talk with one another, and I would bring her up to date all the time on what was going on, and she would make observations and suggestions, some of which I took, some of which I didn't. And that has been very good. And so that's how we got together. And I don't think I talked too much about my insurance business, but in 1953 or 54, I opened my agency at the Aquila Court. I remember Ben Nachman coming into my office then, and remained as an independent agent, I think, until 1969 or 70, at which time I looked around and felt that I would be could best serve my clients and enjoy my business life at what was then the larger Greenberg agency. So I joined them in 1970 and grew with them. I had originally been doing life insurance as well as property and casualty insurance, and felt about that time that I wanted to move in one direction or another, and thought that life insurance was more to my liking than property casualty. And that's what I did when I merged with the larger Greenberg agency. And in 1975, we merged our agency with Alexander and Alexander here in Omaha. And I remained with Alexander and Alexander until about 5-6 years ago, when I left them and started again my own agency, which I have continued to do to date. And have no immediate plans to do other than that. Let's see. I think I pretty well, unless there's some idea that you can suggest or anything like that. By the way, there's a couple other things I wanted to mention. First of all, Beth, as an architect, met and married Jim Wright, who also is an architect. They met when they were going to architectural school at the University of Denver. And they were subsequently married in Aspen, Colorado. And shortly, let's see, they have now been in New York for 10 or 11 years, like it very much. Jim is also an architect, doing well. He is originally from Columbus, and originally from McCook, Nebraska, from a very nice family, and we enjoy very much being with him. We've had the opportunity to be with his folks in McCook and have enjoyed that very much. I also want to mention about my grandson, Kevin. I remember very closely his bris, and I had the opportunity of holding him. And it's amazing to see how he has grown and developed to his now, I guess, about 4.5 years old. And we have pictures of him, numerous pictures from, as well as Beth and Joe and Terry and Beth and Jim also. And I can see him grow and begin to walk and begin to talk, which he now does very well. And to see him grow and watch him use the television, or rather use the computer, and look for a lot of pleasant time spent with him as well as with Lauren and Joe and Terry and Beth and Jim. And also, I meant to mention our other business, and I say our because it's primarily a business that my wife, good wife, has managed well. Back in 1982, a distant relative of ours came through Omaha. He was franchising a new idea in the haircutting industry, that of offering a fairly low rate of low cost of haircuts. They had developed a technique of good cutting, and on the West Coast and in the state of Texas and Arizona, they've been very, very profitable. And we had no idea of going into the business, but we did. And we thought we could open a hair salon in our basement, and with this new concept, we would have to bar the door to keep from being overcrowded with customers. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. We started with opened 4 haircutting salons, and subsequently reduced that number. We now have 2 hair salons. Along the period of time, we went from being a franchisee of Supercuts in 1992 through legal ramifications and settlement. We became independent. We had previously felt that Omaha did not have the concentration to do the type of business we had hoped with Supercuts, and we wanted to give our then stylists the opportunity to do more than merely cut, which was the theory of Supercuts. So we became independent, and from the position of almost going down the tubes in the late 80s, we have turned it around, fortunately, and have become reasonably profitable, to the extent that I don't feel any pressure of my insurance business to provide an income, because we have been getting a reasonable income from Supercuts. Along the way, we have enjoyed the opportunity to work with these young stylists, primarily young girls, and have watched them develop and enjoy what they were doing. And fortunately now we have 2 good managers of our Omaha salon, which is near the Walmart in Brentwood, near La Vista, and one in Lincoln. And we think we have 2 excellent managers there, so that enables us to enjoy a reasonable income, not be tied down, take the type of trips that we would like to take. So it has turned out to be a very good move for us. Also, I don't think I mentioned my main hobbies, other than the swimming. The primary thing that I enjoy doing is using my fly rod to fish with the fly rod. And I've had the opportunity to fish in local waters. We belong to a very pleasant recreational area near Glenwood, Iowa, which has a nice lake. And we fished and hiked and picnicked there. And then I've enjoyed fishing in Colorado and in Montana, and had the opportunity to do some bonefish fishing in off the coast of Venezuela, and we've done some fishing in Florida as well. I also, along the way, became qualified and certified as a scuba diver, and although I'm not so much interested in that now, I did that in warm waters in the Caribbean as well as waters locally. Um, there's something about fly fishing that intrigues me, whether or not I catch fish. It's the effort to be able to cast a fly as I would like to, and I hope to do more of that in the future. Um, the other thing I've taken up is to do some upland game hunting, which I enjoy very much. I've done that the last, I don't know, 10 or 15, 20 years, primarily with Pete Vaughn. I used to do it originally with Saul until he decided that that was not for him. And so those are the things which turned me on as far as the outside activities are concerned.
What do you hunt?
Pheasant and quail. And that's, of course, a fall thing, and I just enjoy getting out, whether or not I am successful and my ability to shoot is not too great, but I enjoy doing it anyway. It adds an element to the fall season, and I hope to continue that. Is there anything else?
Is there a message, Bucky, that you would like to leave for your children and your grandchildren?
I haven't thought too much about that. To be good citizens, to have a good name, hopefully to enjoy good health, hopefully to enjoy a happily married life, to partake in charitable activities, in a way of speaking, to pay their dues for living a good life and helping others and living in the United States, and enjoy the benefits that derives from that. Part of the things that I enjoy, or rather that I think are important, not only my membership with a synagogue, but my participation with the Anti-Defamation League. I can recall many, many years ago being downtown, driving downtown, parking my car at the parking meter, putting the nickel in, turning around, and there stood an individual who said "Heil Hitler," and then walked away. And that was a point that brought home to me the importance of the type of work that the ADL does. And since that time, I have belonged to ADL and to a limited extent partook in those activities and plan to continue to partake in that type of activity. So that's important to me, and I hope that they will follow the Jewish religion and enjoy the benefits of being Jewish and recognize the advantage of being Jewish and to keep in mind the history of our people, and it's important not only to us but to the world in general. And I think those are my wishes for them.
Thank you, Bucky.
Those pictures are my Berkowitz grandparents, Bubby and Zadie Berkowitz. As I understand it, those pictures were taken in Romania at the time of their engagement, and they seem to be a little bit more sophisticated than we often think of our grandparents in Europe as being particularly her dress and his suit and collar seem to be very contemporary and very, very dressy, and also I think they're a very handsome, gorgeous couple. These are my Winthrop grandparents. I never knew my grandfather. He died even before Mother and Daddy were married, which was a great disappointment to my mother, as I think I mentioned before. And I'm not sure, I think these pictures were possibly taken in the United States, which would of course be well into their marriage because all of their children were born in Europe. But I'm really not positive. They certainly look quite young, and the fact that he died when he was quite young would add to the feeling. But as I say, I'm just not sure where they were taken. Okay, that's my mother, Anne Berkavasi, taken probably in the 50s. And I think when one grows up, at least it was my case, the fact that she was beautiful, not beautiful, never entered my thinking. She was my mother. I loved her to pieces, and her looks didn't really enter into it. But as I look at this picture and other pictures of her, she was truly beautiful on the outside as well as on the inside. She was what a mother should be when you grow up. She was a marvelous nurse. Boy, she ran up and downstairs a jillion times whenever we were sick. And she was just always there for us. And the smile on her face in that picture just reflects a lot of what she was. That's my father, Moses Mo Berkavasi. And I was terribly fortunate growing up that I had two parents who I absolutely adored and who I know absolutely adored me. Daddy was, again, always there for me. I could call and say, bring home nothing fancy, but if I needed a box of crayons or some paper or something like that, I remember he would bring that home to me. He was the one who took me to the circus on several occasions. He was just right there. One picture I have of him, he loved to read. He was well-versed in Hebrew as well as English. And he would lay on the sofa at night after dinner, and after he finished the newspaper, he would pick up, very often, a book in Hebrew and didn't need the English translation for it. He was very knowledgeable. He was also among the first CPAs in the state, and his reputation was second to none. People did look up to him. And though he wasn't a terribly social man, he had the respect and the friendship of a good many people. He was very family conscious. He took care financially of his parents and any siblings who needed it along the way, since he was the oldest. He had started Creighton Law School, and at the time that he was about to graduate, Creighton went from 3 years to 4 years, and financially he couldn't do that, had to go out and make a living, and so he joined the Internal Revenue Service and was with them for many years before he left to join Is. Abramson in the firm of Abramson and Berkavasi, CPAs.
Okay, I remember this picture of my dad. I believe it was taken sometime in the late 40s, and I always regarded him as a very handsome person, in addition to being a marvelous example of a human being. I did not mention that immediately subsequent to his death, in recognition of his interest in young people and athletics, we established the JCC Midget Basketball League Most Improved 7th and 8th Graders. I think that was in 1953 or 54. And subsequently we added the Most Improved 5th and 6th Graders, and it's been our pleasure, and I've been pleased to be the announcer of the awards, those two awards, for what now has been a period of almost 50 years. He was a great example of how to live one's life and how to live one's both personal and business, and was really something special, someone special. I believe this also was taken sometime in the late 40s. In those days, as perhaps even more so than now, it was the mother who was at home and who inculcated respect ideas and how to work with people and treat people and be treated by people. And so she was a wonderful person to be with. She was a person I turned to when I didn't feel well and when I had problems, and respect very much the help that she gave me, and have great affection for her.
This is my mother's family, the Wintrobe family, taken, I would suppose, in the very early 1900s, because mother, well, maybe closer to 1905, 6, 7, or 8, something like that. And I will identify them by family group. Ruth is the little one, Fanny and Joe Wintrobe, Izzy Wintrobe, Bobby, my Uncle Sam Wintrobe, who was the next oldest to my mother, Zadie, mother, Goldie and Joe Rosen, Esther, Harry, Ann, and Ackerman. The inset are Heike, David, Anita, and Marion Sora. That's my sister, Judy Berkavasi Tully, and me. I think I must have been about 9 or 10, which means Judy would have been about 3 or 4, and it's just one of those pictures that parents had and still do have their children take. That's me, Carol Greenberg, then Carol Berkavasi. I believe I was either a junior or a senior in university when that was taken.
Hello, this is a picture of me. I guess it was taken in the late 40s, shortly before we were married, and still had more hair than I have now, and that's about it, I guess. Thank you.
That picture was taken immediately after our wedding ceremony, June 12th, 1951, under the chuppah, and shows very happy bride and groom.
Picture of my dad's parents. I believe that it was taken in the late 1880s, and I never knew. I knew my grandmother, my father's mother, but I never did know my grandfather, my father's father, although my and I guess 3 of my cousins were named Baruch after him. This is a unique 4-generation picture. On the far left, the lower left, and on the far right are my great grandparents' still row. And then going to the upper level, the woman with the neck band was my grandmother, Hyman. Next to her is my mother, Viola. And then in the lower part of the picture, my sister Lee Jane and myself.
Right.
This is my maternal grandmother, Elizabeth, for whom our daughter Beth was named. Lovely woman. I did not know her too well. She passed away when I was about 5 years old. Remember, she was with us at our home on 47th and Davenport at the time she passed away. But I've heard nothing but wonderful comments about what a fine, gentle woman she was. My maternal grandfather, Abraham, born in Russia, educated in Scotland, came to North Dakota in the early 1900s, traveled the railroads to the west of Dakota and Montana, Idaho, selling clothing. Shortly after, and for most of the time, for the rest of his life after my grandmother passed away, he lived with us, was quite religious, would walk from our home on 57th Street on Shabbat down to the synagogue at 19th. I remember we had to wait for him for the Passover ceremony years back. A very quiet, humble man. I loved to walk. I used to walk with him on occasion. And every birthday he used to give us $36.50, which was a representative of 10 cents a day for each day of the year.
This is my father's family, the Burkavises. Standing on the furthest left is my Aunt Beck, Rebecca Burkavisi, my dad, Mo Burkavisi, my Uncle Jay Burkavisi. Seated are Sadie and Bobby. Sadie is holding my uncle Israel Burkavisi, and Uncle Jay's arm is around Aunt Ida Burkavisi Zorwell. This is my mother when she was Ann Wintrobe. I think taken probably as an engagement picture right before she got married. Perfect early 20s picture. She could have been a model, I think. And as I look at it, I wonder how come I didn't get to look like her, because I think that picture is just absolutely gorgeous. That's Bucky's mom when she was, it looks like maybe she was 6 years old. And I just think it's the cutest thing ever. The headpiece, the dress, the little princess attitude. And as we look at it, we can also see our daughter Beth in the face. So it's just a terrific picture.
Hi, nice picture of the Joe Greenberg family, taken, I believe, in the late 40s. I believe Lee Jane had graduated high school and I was in high school, and the folks were enjoying their business and family and social activities.
This picture was taken at a very special time. As a family, we had never done, probably not any traveling together. And when I graduated university, Mother and Daddy said, as an extra present, we are all going to Chicago to celebrate. And that's exactly what we did. We drove to Chicago. We stayed at the Edgewater Beach Hotel. We went first class all the way. We dined at wonderful restaurants. And this is one of those pictures where the photographer comes around, and fortunately we agreed to buying it because it's a memory of a really happy time that the four of us had together.
Interesting picture. I think I was about 3 or 4 or 5. Jane was a couple of years, 18 months to be specific, older than I. And I guess now would be the good time to talk about my name, Bucky. My sister and my cousin Ruth Weiner could not say Barton, and they used to say Buckin. And then it evolved to Bucky. And I've never grown up, so I keep the name Bucky. As a matter of fact, my grandson knows me by no other name than Bucky. It's always Grammy and Bucky.
This picture was taken probably in the early 80s. It's in our backyard. I think both children had been away at school or whatever and came home, and we decided we wanted a family picture. It's a little hard to see, but our dog, a beautiful, beautiful Irish setter named Sabra, is in the corner. She kind of blends in with the landscape, but we had her for many years, and in this picture she was getting toward her older age, but we definitely needed her in the picture as part of our family.
You ready? Yes. What do you know? We finally got all the family together. Starting from the left side, Terry and Joe, then Carol and I, then Jim and Beth. We got together in Santa Fe with the grandkids and had one grand time. We had 2 adjoining condos, and we did everything. And we look forward to doing that again.
This picture was taken at the prenuptial dinner that my sister Judy Tully had for our son and daughter-in-law, Joe and Terry. They are in the picture, as are our daughter Beth and son-in-law Jim, and all of Judy's children and their spouses who came in for the wedding. And it's just one of my very favorite pictures because so many of my favorite people are in it. This is our gorgeous family. Joe and Terry Greenberg with their children, not our great-grandchildren, but our wonderful grandchildren. Lauren, who is about 4, and Kevin, who is about a year old in that picture. We show it with pride and joy.
Okay, this is a copy of the wedding announcement of my parents. It reads, Mr. and Mrs. Abraham Hyman announce the marriage of their daughter, Viola Miriam, to Mr. Joseph J. Greenberg on Friday, August 30th, 1918, Sioux City, Iowa. And that's interesting because the reason why it took place in Sioux City, Iowa, is that evidently his folks and his mother and her folks couldn't quite agree on the marriage circumstances, so they eloped. And they went to Sioux City. They were married in the home of Mrs. Pill, who, interestingly enough, was the grandmother of Joanne Weiner, who married my dear cousin, Buddy Weiner. And that's the story. This is a copy of the marriage certificate. Evidently, when Jane was cleaning out all her stuff, she found it and made a copy. It reads, this certifies that on the 30th day of August, A.D. 1918, at Sioux City in Woodbury County, Iowa, according to the law and authority, I duly join in marriage Joseph J. Greenberg and Viola Miriam Hyman, given under my hand the 30th day of August, 1918, witness Rabbi Karpstein and Philip Goldblatt. So I guess it was official. Okay, this is the hardware that comes from about 22, 23 years of competitive swimming. And they cover everything from the state of Nebraska and the state games to, these are the world swimming meet event in Montreal. And this is, let's see, well, anyway, one of the national meets. And there's some of these that are from Germany, and something that I just like to have. And up on top, this is the original, or rather the current Nebraska, or rather American National Championship patch. This is the former United States Master Swimming National Championship patch. This is the All-American National Swimming patch, which goes with having the best time in one event in the year. And this was the world record, where I think I held 2 world records for a period of time. Both of course, have since been replaced, but it was nice to have. Anyway, there's quite a few of them there, and my brother-in-law Saul keeps telling me that that wall is going to fall down because of all the weight on it.
There were a few things that I left out when we talked yesterday, Ben, and I thought I would like to add them to the record in no particular order. One of the things is my relationship with my darling sister-in-law, Lee Jane. We were very good friends, felt very close to each other, had a really wonderful time when on many occasions we went to stay with them in California,
Or Minnesota?
Yeah, we went to Minnesota early on in our marriage. Well, I guess Alan was born already, but we took fishing trips to Minnesota and with the kids, and just always had a great time together. And not to slight Sal, he also has been a wonderful, wonderful friend, and the feeling has always been extremely close.
Yes, it was with Stuart.
I also didn't go into excuse me, many of my activities. Early on in marriage, I was somewhat active in Hadassah, a little bit in council, more in synagogue sisterhood, held some offices in sisterhood, and was, as I say, active many years. And when the new building was about to be built, Bucky and I were both active in the fundraising, spent a lot of time and energy on that, and feel very grateful that we did, because the building is so unique and so gorgeous, and knowing that we had a part of it is something very special. For the past 3.5 years, I've sat on the synagogue board, and that's been a very nice experience. I had also been, a few years back, active in Federation. I was chairman of the women's division on 2 different occasions, helped raise a lot of money for Federation in Omaha, and a lot of which went to Israel. Another thing that I'm quite proud of. Spare time, I love to play tennis. I've played for several years now. I've made some friends that I probably wouldn't have had I not played. Enjoy the game tremendously. Sometimes play with Bucky.
Tennis, that is.
It's been a nice part of my life. Has been yoga, which I have done for several years, and
many years,
and enjoy a whole lot. The stretches are good. I think the thing that really amazes me most is that I can do a headstand. Never in my wildest dreams thought I could do a headstand, but we have a wonderful young Russian woman who is our yoga leader now, and she got us standing on our heads, me included, and it's been a lot of fun. We've had opportunities to take some very, very good trips. We've been to Israel 3 times. We've been to many of the European countries. Italy is among our favorites. We've been there also three times.
Yes.
Yeah. And are now in the thinking process of where to go next. One thing I wanted to mention about our daughter and son-in-law in New York. I had mentioned before that we had 2 cousins, Rose and Rebecca Siegel, with whom we were very close when I was growing up, but who moved to New York at sometime during Second World War. When Beth and Jim moved to New York, they looked them up and became very, very close. Rose and Babe were kind of their surrogate mothers, and Beth and Jim were definitely their surrogate children. And when both Rose, who died first, and Babe, who died several years later, were ill, Beth and Jim took wonderful, wonderful care of them. And it particularly touched us how close Jim was with them and what good care he took, because he was not a direct member of the family, but he became as much a member of the family as possibly could have been, and just was wonderful to them. And I wanted to mention that relationship because I think it's so unique and so special. Another thing I didn't mention, and it's still hard to talk about, is of course when my parents died, Daddy died first in 1971. He had lung cancer, and it was a tough time. My mother died about 8 years later, and that was really difficult because we had gone on a vacation to the Cayman Islands, and I remember the last thing I said to her, she was having dinner at Judy's that night, and we went over to say goodbye. I said, "Take good care of yourself for us." She had not been particularly ill when we left, but she had either an embolism or an aneurysm, and died very suddenly, and we were called back from our vacation. But those are a part of growing up and maturing, and things that happen, but I wanted to mention those also in context of what we're doing here.